Is everybody ready for the party?
Have you made any New Year's resolutions, Chuck?
Yes. You know how I always dread the whole year? Well, this time I'm only going to dread one day at a time.
Happy New Year!
Shalom, friends. Welcome to the podcast where we set our hearts and minds
above the mud
because we've been created
by love,
for love,
to love.
We are your hosts
from the Treasure Coast,
Michael and Cece Keaton.
I'm Batman.
I'm actually feeling quite generous today.
Oh, well, I may just accept your generosity.
So this is our 4th episode in our first series on the habits of spiritual formation, generosity philosophy. So, Michael, how can I be more generous?
Pastor Rick Warren says that generosity is stated more than 2,152 times in the Bible.
Wow.
Why? Because it's love in action. Generosity draws us closer to God. In Matthew 6:21, Jesus says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." So make your treasure your measure.
Ooh.
For your generous love.
Do not seek the treasure.
The great Christian author and speaker Corrie ten Boom said this: "The measure of a life, after all, is not its duration, but its donation."
Your contributions to the museum over the years have been extremely generous.
Thank you, folks. That's very generous.
19th century theologian Andrew Murray once said, "The world will ask you, what does a man own? But Christ will ask you, how does he use it?"
His generous deeds will live forever.
Ooh, the sound of that shofar means it's time for a Hebrew word. So, Michael, what is the Hebrew word for generosity?
The Jewish community takes the responsibility of giving with great pride. The concept known as tzedakah finds its origin in the Torah. This Hebrew word literally means righteousness, but Hebrew speakers use it to refer to giving and charity. There are multiple passages in the Hebrew scriptures where God instructs the Jewish people to perform acts of tzedakah. God is specifically commanding the Israelites to consider the poor among them, as recorded in Leviticus 19:9-10 and Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy?
And
How's Big Ma say it?
Deuteronomy
What are those scriptures?
15:7-8. The common denominator.
That's a tongue twister. Common denominator. Say it.
The common denominator.
Common denominator.
The common denominator is
Ooh,
this.
Okay.
Generous people are generous because they don't hold on to anything too tightly. Whether money or status, it's all about posture and condition of the heart.
My king has been very generous to me.
So I'm going to be very transparent here and just state that generosity is something I must purpose to be, because it's not my default. I can actually tend to be selfish at times. But I'm definitely working on it.
You are so disappointing on so many levels.
Author Carol Ryrie Brink said this: "The most truly generous persons are those who give silently, without the hope of praise or reward."
All right. I'll be generous.
Haven't you noticed how we always manage to escape the vicious ensnarements of our underhanded opponents? Don't you know why?
Because we're smarter than they are.
I prefer to believe it's because our hearts are pure.
In the Old Testament, Abraham, who is called the friend of God, displays generosity many occasions, but I love this particular story in Genesis 18. The Lord appeared again to Abraham near the oak grove belonging to Mamre. One day, Abraham was sitting at the entrance to his tent during the hottest part of the day. He looked up and noticed 3 men standing nearby.
When he saw them, he ran to meet them and welcomed them, bowing low to the ground. "My lord," he said, "if it pleases you, stop here for a while. Rest in the shade of this tree, while water is brought to you to wash your feet. And since you've honored your servant with this visit, let me prepare some food to refresh you before you continue on your journey."
"All right," they said. "Do as you have said." So Abraham ran back to the tent and said to Sarah, "Hurry, get 3 large measures of your best flour, knead it into dough, and bake some bread."
Then Abraham ran out to the herd and chose a tender calf and gave it to his servant, who quickly prepared it. When the food was ready, Abraham took some yogurt and milk and the roasted meat, and he served it to the men. As they ate, Abraham waited on them in the shade of the trees. Genesis 18:1 through 8.
That's very generous of him.
Oh, how gracious and generous.
You know, Michael, there's another way that we can be generous that actually draws us closer to God and helps bless people.
Sounds like prayer to me.
Generous in our prayer, absolutely. So, what does that look like? How do we...
Well, we, of course, formally pray for someone or something that we want, or for someone's health. And we don't necessarily have to formally pray for it again. We can, throughout the day, think about those people or those things and ask God in a quick and precise type of gesture to remember my prayer, Lord, about this person or that thing.
Yes. And also being generous in prayer. Stop that noise.
Oh.
No. I'm going to add that in there. Being generous in our prayers also is sometimes you think, oh, I have to pray about this thing. And so we can be very quick to just like say a quick prayer. Instead, I think when we really think about that person and what they're going through, or the situation that's at hand and the severity, without worrying, just actually thinking more about giving it to God and what that means and how much that person or whatever it is means to us, and just sitting with it there. That's being generous, right?
Yeah, the more time you spend or expend on a certain topic or person in prayer or thing in prayer,
yes,
of course, that is a function that is considered, taking your valuable time to pray.
Yes, that's exactly right. And God redeems our time. Whenever we do something that honors Him and brings Him glory, it's not like we're wasting our time.
You
Somehow
can never waste your
it.
time when you're thinking about others.
Yes.
And bringing others to God.
Right.
Lifting them up. Just say to the Lord, Lord, bless their day.
Yes.
You don't know anything about them.
Right.
You might have just met them, and they, they put a smile on your face, or didn't even smile when you looked at them.
Right.
Lord, bless their day.
Right.
It's a generalization of, asking God to bless something that you don't know anything about.
To bring good to that person.
To bring good to another person. Amen. By lifting them up in prayer.
And just doing that repetitively makes you more generous. Just
That's right,
overall,
because
it creates this.
It creates a spiritual habit.
Yes.
This is where you'll be giving your life to save the earth.
Too generous.
Not for such an important cause.
The great theologian Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King Jr. He said, "The heart of the giver makes the gift dear and precious."
Oh, I love that.
I'm a generous man.
Charles Spurgeon said, "In all my years of service to the Lord, I have discovered a truth that has never failed and has never been compromised. That truth is that it is beyond the realm of possibilities that one has the ability to outgive God."
That reminds me of a great quote by Robert Louis Stevenson, who said, "You can give without loving, but you can never love without giving."
John Wesley, the great theologian, once said, "Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, and at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can."
Oof.
Dang!
Woo!
I am so blown away right now.
Scottish evangelical author F.F. Bruce said, "God bestows his blessings without discrimination. The followers of Jesus are children of God, and they should manifest the family likeness by doing good to all, even to those who deserve the opposite."
Thank you, folks. That's very generous.
The late, great Tim Keller said, "A lack of generosity refuses to acknowledge that your assets are not really yours, but God's."
It's mine. It's all mine.
Now this is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?
So what you must do now is you must think of the most important thing that you can do for others and go and do it.
John Bunyan, not Paul Bunyan, said, "You have not lived today until you have done something for someone who can never repay you."
Ooh.
Mind blown.
Mind blown.
Repay me?
Shalom, friends. Thanks for joining us today. And don't forget to be generous and hit like and subscribe.
And remember, you can never be more like God than when you're forgiving and giving.
Shalom, shalom. We love you all. And more importantly, God loves you.
I can't thank you enough for giving so generously of your time tonight.
Shalom.
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 You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.